Hey friends, yesterday in Mercy Creek, Jesus taught a grocery store full of people that love becomes real when it becomes action. Nora Reyes needed help. Her card declined. Her little boy Mateo had to put back the animal crackers, and one stranger stepped forward. Then another. Then another. By the end of the day, Mercy Creek had learned that sometimes Jesus meets us in the grocery line. But today, the lesson moves across town to Miller's garage. Because hunger is not always about food. Sometimes people are hungry for forgiveness. Sometimes they're hungry for one more chance. Sometimes they're hungry to come home, but they don't know if anyone will open the door. And that brings us to one of the most beautiful stories Jesus ever told, the prodigal son. A son left home, wasted what he had, broke his father's heart, and came back with nothing but shame. He did not ask to be restored as a son. He only hoped to be treated like a servant. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him, ran to him, embraced him, and welcomed him home. That, my friends, is the heart of our God. And on a Friday morning in Mercy Creek, Hank Miller was about to find out that sometimes the hardest person to forgive is the one who still has your last name. Miller's garage sat across from Grace's diner with two service bays, a cracked concrete lot, and an old sign that still read Miller Brothers Auto Repair. The sign bothered Hank every morning, not enough to take it down, just enough to make him angry every time he looked at it. His brother Sam had not worked there in 8 years. 8 years since the argument. 8 years since their father died. 8 years since Sam left town with his share of the inheritance and a promise that he was never coming back. And now, as Hank unlocked the garage after the storm from the night before, there was a man standing in the lot. A duffel bag sat at his feet. His shirt was wrinkled. His beard was rough. His eyes looked tired in a way that sleep would not fix. Hank stopped cold. Sam Miller looked at him and said, "Hey, Hank." Hank did not answer. Across the street, Grace was unlocking the diner door. Lily stood beside her with a backpack over one shoulder. Lily saw the man first. "Mama," she whispered, "is that Hank's brother?" Grace looked over. "Oh my," she said softly. Inside the garage lot, Hank stared at Sam like the past had walked up wearing boots. "What are you doing here?" Sam swallowed. "I don't know where else to go." Hank laughed once. It was not a happy sound. "That sounds about right." Sam looked down. "I know I have no right to ask you for anything." "You're correct." Grace and Lily had stopped moving. Pastor Caleb, walking toward the diner with his Bible in hand, slowed down too. Deputy Reed rolled by in his patrol car and parked without turning off the engine. Mercy Creek was small. Private Payne did not stay private long. Sam took a step forward. "I made a mess of things." Hank's face hardened. "You made a mess. You took the money Dad left us. You sold your part of the garage to me like it meant nothing. You left me here with the debt, the building, the customers, Mom's medical bills, and Dad's tools. Then you vanished." "I know." "No, you don't know." Hank pointed at the sign. You see that, Miller Brothers? I left it up because I was too angry to take it down. Every morning I look at that lie hanging over my head. Sam's eyes filled. I'm sorry. Hank shook his head. No, you don't get to show up with a bag and a sorry and make me the villain if I don't hug you. That's when Jesus came around the corner. He walked slowly, the way he had walked through Miller's Market the day before. No hurry, no performance, just presence. Grace saw him and whispered, It's him. Jesus stopped a few steps from the brothers. Hank turned. You again. Jesus looked at him gently. Yes. Hank pointed toward Sam. You got a story for this too? Jesus looked at Sam, then at Hank. Yes. Hank folded his arms. Of course you do. Jesus said, There was a man who had 2 sons. Pastor Caleb closed his eyes like he already knew where this was going. Jesus continued. The younger son asked for what belonged to him. He left home. He wasted everything. Then hunger found him. Shame found him. And when he finally came back, he thought he had lost the right to be called a son. Sam lowered his head. Jesus looked at Hank. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him. Hank's jaw tightened. Jesus said, The father ran to him. Hank looked away. Jesus continued, He did not run because the son deserved it. He ran because love had been waiting longer than anger had been speaking. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Hank said, I'm not his father. No, Jesus said, you are his brother. Hank's eyes flashed. Exactly. Jesus nodded. And in the story, the older brother was wounded too. That stopped Hank. Jesus stepped a little closer. The older brother stayed. He worked. He carried responsibility. He watched someone else come home to celebration after leaving him with the burden. Hank's face changed. For the first time, he looked less angry and more seen. Jesus said, The father did not tell the older brother his pain was fake. He invited him inside before bitterness became his home. Hank looked at Sam. Sam's voice broke. I'm not asking for the garage. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking you to pretend I didn't hurt you. Then what are you asking? Sam wiped his face with the back of his hand. I'm asking if I can stand here long enough to say I was wrong. Hank said nothing. Sam continued. I lost the money. I lost the friends I thought I had. I lost a lot of years being too proud to come back. And last night, I slept at the bus station outside Willow Falls because I was too ashamed to come back here in the dark. Grace covered her mouth. Lily moved closer to her mother. Sam looked at Hank. I know I may never get my brother back, but I needed you to know I'm sorry before I disappear again. He bent down and picked up his duffel bag. Hank watched him turn toward the road, and something in Mercy Creek seemed to hold its breath. Jesus did not speak. He only looked at Hank. Not pushing, not forcing, just waiting. Hank looked at the old sign. Miller Brothers Auto Repair. He looked at Sam's back, then said, You hungry? Sam stopped. He turned slowly. What? Hank's face was stiff, like every word cost him something. I said, are you hungry? Sam nodded once. Yeah. Hank looked across the street. Grace has breakfast. Sam did not move. Hank said, don't make me say it twice. Grace laughed through tears. Sam walked back, slowly, not into an embrace, not into a perfect ending, just back. And sometimes that's how forgiveness begins. Not with music, not with everyone crying in each other's arms. Sometimes forgiveness begins with, are you hungry? Inside Grace's diner, nobody knew where to sit. Sam stood near the door like he was afraid to enter. Hank took the counter. Jesus sat between them. Grace poured coffee for all three. Lily brought menus, though everyone knew Hank would order eggs and toast. Pastor Caleb slid into a booth and watched quietly. Deputy Reed stayed near the window. Ruth Caldwell arrived late, took one look at Sam, and whispered, Lord have mercy. Jesus smiled. He does. Grace set breakfast in front of the brothers. For a while, they ate without speaking. Then Hank pushed a small jar of strawberry jam towards Sam. Sam looked at it. You remembered. Hank shrugged. You always use too much. Sam opened the jar. His hands trembled. That tiny thing broke him more than any speech could have. I miss this place, he said. Hank stared down at his plate. I missed who you used to be. Sam nodded. I did too. Jesus looked at both of them. The son who left needed mercy. Then he looked at Hank. The son who stayed needed mercy too. Hank swallowed. What if I can't forgive him today? Jesus said. Then begin by not sending him away hungry. Hank nodded slowly. I can do that. Sam whispered, Thank you. Hank did not answer, but he did not tell him to leave. And in Mercy Creek, that mattered. By evening, the whole town had heard that Sam Miller was back. Some people had said that Hank forgave him. That was not exactly true. Some people said Jesus fixed everything. That was not exactly true either. What happened was smaller, and maybe more honest. Sam slept that night on a cot in the back office of Miller's garage. Hank gave him an old blanket and said, Don't touch my tools. Sam said, I won't. Then Hank added, We open at 7. Sam looked up. We? Hank stood in the doorway for a moment. For now. Then he shut off the light. Across the street, Grace watched from the diner window while Lily wrote in her notebook. What are you writing tonight? Grace asked. Lily read it softly. Sometimes forgiveness starts before your heart catches up. Grace smiled. That's a good one. Near the river, Jesus stood under the fading sky while Pastor Caleb walked beside him. I've preached the prodigal son many times, Caleb said. I always focused on the younger son. Jesus looked toward the garage. Many people do. But Hank is the older brother. Yes, and he's wounded. Yes. Caleb was quiet. Then Jesus said, Be careful when you preach forgiveness. Some people listening are the ones who left. Some are the ones who were left behind. That night, Mercy Creek learned the lesson of the second day. Forgiveness is not pretending the wound did not happen. Forgiveness is not handing trust back to someone who has not changed. Forgiveness is not being forced to hug someone before your heart is ready. Forgiveness begins when love refuses to let bitterness make every decision. It begins when the door stays open just enough for grace to enter. It begins when the brother who stayed does not have to deny his pain, and the brother who left does not have to be trapped forever inside his worst mistake. Jesus does not only welcome prodigals, he also goes out to the porch and speaks tenderly to the ones who stayed home angry. Because both sons need the Father. Both sons need mercy. Both sons need to come inside. And on day 2 in Mercy Creek, Jesus taught one wounded family that sometimes coming home does not begin with a celebration. Sometimes it begins with breakfast. Tomorrow is day 3, and in Mercy Creek, the storm has passed, but the worries have not. Because Grace Bennett is about to discover that even when you feed everybody else, fear can still sit quietly at your own table. And Jesus, well, Jesus is not finished with this town yet. My name is Douglas Vandergraph, and I believe in Jesus Christ. God bless every single one of you, and we'll see you here tomorrow for day 3.